Welcome to the board wrap-up for September 2015. Dr. Pennington is not with us today, out of town. We've got Bret Smith with Ponca City Schools with us, and we're going to talk about some very exciting things that are coming up in the next month, including the bond issue. But Bret, I thought we might just go over a few of the things at the September board meeting that you wanted to highlight, and then we've got some pictures, and we've got some other things to talk with folks about. Thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you very much. Our board meeting last night was kind of short and sweet. There wasn't a whole lot on the agenda. Our ACT president came in and addressed the board and thanked them for their support for all the teachers, and thought that attendance and everything was very positive, which was part of the superintendent's report talking about enrollment and attendance. Our enrollment is down as compared to last year at this time. 52-32 was about what we had last year, and or actually that's what we had this year, and last year was 52-41. So it's very close. It's not too bad, but we're still enrolling kids, believe it or not. So we hope by October 1st, when we have to officially turn in that enrollment for the year, that'll all even itself out, and we'll be about flat. So that's a good thing. Superintendent also talked about accreditation. Our status for accreditation for the State Department of Education is about the same as it was last year. Liberty and Garfield had some deficiencies in their test scores, so that was kind of a down part of it, but that's nothing that can't be corrected. And of course Lincoln, that was on the school improvement list, but according to the rules for the State Department, you have to improve for 2 consecutive years to get off that list, and they improved last year, so we're looking for good things this year to get them off that list. The other thing I talked about was the state grade card. The state grade card hasn't changed. We're all basically going to have the same at this point. The new grade cards will come out in October. That way we'll know kind of what's going on there. But the state is also trying to correct that. There's not a whole lot of people who have a lot of faith in that grade card, and that it really gives us a whole lot of information. So we're looking for a waiver that would allow us to maybe lock in that grade card for 2 years while the state develops the new grade card, and then we'll all go from there. Other than that, we talked about the estimate of needs, which is something that we have to do each year. We have to say, yeah, this is what we need, and now we're going to see what the estimates on our ad valorem and so forth is going to bring to us, and the needs that we have for the district. So they just had to say, yes, we need that. And we had some board policies, that were new, and some of them were revised that our attorneys did for us. And so we kind of looked at those over, and they approved them, and several different agreements and those kinds of agreements that we have with other companies throughout the year for software and so forth. We approved those and went on down the road.
So an easy meeting for September, but as we hit the middle of September until the middle of October, this community is going to be under scrutiny. We're going to be looking at a very, very important bond proposal for the Ponca City Public Schools. We're going to show you in a little bit a few pictures of what would be built in our school system if approved. But I know that you're talking in the community right now. In fact, everybody in the community school-wise is talking about the bond issue. Let's go through it because people need to know that it's coming up in October, and whatever you want to highlight before we start showing some pictures.
Okay, well, thank you. October 13th is the vote, and we just encourage everybody to get out there and vote. It's important to give that right that you have out there and utilize it so you can be heard. Our school bond issue is for $37,225,000 for school improvements, construction projects, and $1 million will go towards transportation. The transportation bonds has to be voted separately, so that's 2 votes. The transportation bond for that $1 million, let me back up a little bit. The bond issue is going to be on a 6 series sale. That way we can afford to have this much money, but we have to sell those bonds each year for 6 years in order to have it. So the projects are scheduled in such a way that we can afford those in these years as they transpire. The transportation bond is going to buy 9 buses. We have always maintained that buses and travel for children is very important for the safety of those, especially with all of the out-of-town buses that we have and the rural buses. If they don't run well, then we put kids in jeopardy. So we maintain to have our buses no older than 10 years. So these 9 buses will replace those that are 10 years or thereabout for this particular part of the bond issue. Now the bond issue for the construction is for several different things, and that'll, like I say, go over the 6 years as well. Technology improvements. There's about $7,200,000 in technology improvements. You know, once we started down that road with technology, it's kind of hard to stop because you've got to be able to keep up. Technology changes every day. We all know that. You know, today it's good, tomorrow it's obsolete because they've got something new coming off the shelf. We replace and or refresh our computers every 4 years in the district. So it takes a lot of money to keep that up. The licensing, the software, the hard equipment, and the hardware and so forth. So we're looking at all that $7 million to keep that up, which is about $1,200,000 every year that we need. Lincoln Elementary. This is one that we just put a new roof on, a new HVAC system. So it really looks like a brand new school already. We're very excited about that. But it doesn't have that safety vestibule entrance that we're putting in all the other buildings. You know, we just did that with Woodlands in that construction project, and Trout is under construction right now doing the same thing. We want to be able to keep our children and our staff as safe as we possibly can. So building that vestibule area to stop visitors and other patrons of the district and have them be vetted, come into the office and take care of those issues before they're allowed to go into the school itself. That's what we've got to do at Lincoln. So we're going to revamp that entire entrance and bring the office out forward so the office people can visit and greet people as they come in. The improvements at West Middle School, we're looking at renovations of the student restrooms. They haven't been touched since the 1960s, I think, or late 50s, whenever we first built that school. So they're in dire need of renovations and fixed up and refreshed. We've got some flooring issues over there where we put carpet in hallways. It's getting very worn, so we need to replace those, and we're doing that with tile or luxury vinyl tile. It seems to be working very well, and it's very attractive. And then the counselor's office is all the way in the north or back side of the building. We want to bring them up into the main office suites so they're more available with the central administration of that building, and then take their existing offices and put restrooms in those. There's nothing on the whole back side as far as restroom facilities is concerned at West Middle School, so we want to build those over there. East Middle School. We're trying to spread this around, as you can see what I'm getting at. We're trying to make sure that everybody gets a little piece of the action, but they all have their needs. I don't think that we can ever really stop doing things in the district. Things wear out just about the time you go through every building. You got to start over again. East Middle School needs new windows. We put windows in there in the early 90s. They are not efficient. They're not the type of glass that reflects the sun so much, and they're darn sure not insulated. So we're going to replace those. That will help with that energy efficiency. The HVAC system is also about 15, 17 years old, so we need to replace it. It's not designed adequately, and the machines are not very efficient. So we'll help those folks over there with that. I think they'll be very happy. The senior high, we've got about $700,000 that we want to put in over there. We want to improve the security of the Hal building. We built a vestibule area for those folks over there last year, but it doesn't have some of the other amenities in it that the other schools have. There's not any bullet resistant glass. We would like to be able to put in an automatic door and be able to buzz those folks in and out. So just improve that. And we want to do the same thing at East as well. You know, I didn't mention that one, but East was the very first safety vestibule area that we built in the district. And so it's due for a little upgrade to make sure that we've got that the same as everybody else. But we also want to put an elevator in the Hal building. That we did some improvements over the years, but that elevator has been there since the 1950s, and it needs to be replaced. Seating in the auditorium. And I'll get to part of that. The seating in the auditorium's been there for a very long time, and it's in dire need to be replaced. So we're going to do that. And and then there's a corridor that's needed to go from the Fine Arts to the Howe Building. Right now, those kids are and the staff or go right out in the open in order to get to the Howe Building where their other classes are. And we want to put a corridor in there so it's safer for them to travel, so people can't just walk into that building without being noticed. They need to come and be vetted at the high school first before they can go there. So that'll help those folks and those kids traveling back and forth. And then our fine arts improvements. Our fine arts and our athletic facilities have not had any significant improvements since the 1970s. You know, we built the fine arts building that they currently use and the Robson Fieldhouse. We've done little bits of things here and there, but nothing significant. The fine arts community is in need of a concert hall. So for about $10,700,000, we're going to build a concert hall. Now this is not a performing arts center, but it's something that our music programs can utilize for quality recording, for sound purposes, because right now they have to travel to other places that have the adequate recording facilities and the equipment for contests. We would like to be able to have that here in Ponca City. If we wanted to have a concert here in Ponca City that has the sound quality of other places, professional, we would have it with this. Right now we can't do that. The main reason, not just those reasons, because those are very good reasons as well, is our stages in the Howe Building or West Middle School or East Middle School are not large enough to accommodate the size of our programs. Our band and orchestra can't fit. They put them down, you know, in the aisles and in front of the stage, and they pack them in. That's just not adequate for a good performance, and you don't want to leave anybody out. So this stage will fit them. And we'll be able to have a program that will also incorporate the vocal music department. The Fine Arts Concert Hall will hold about 1,200 people, and that's with the backside of this stage utilizing the vocal art folks.
Do you know where you want to put that, or is it just important to get the bond passed and then we'll make a decision on that?
We plan on putting it north of Sullivan Stadium in the open lots that we have purchased over the last several years. So that's where we've got it set up. And I'll show you a picture in a moment to let you know exactly what that's going to look like. So we're excited about it. Our athletic facility improvements. Right now there's a need for some locker room space for our visiting football teams, our soccer and track folks. So we would like to take and build a new football locker room for our varsity teams over in the east end of the Sullivan Stadium. That will give them the spaces that they need for their program, and then we just repurpose their old locker room for the visitors and the soccer and track folks. And then we're going to look at, on the back side of the Robson Fieldhouse, build a weight training facility. It'll have a weight room in it, and then those other programs that athletes of today need, you know, cardiovascular equipment, some of those other things that they use as a training facility, not just barbells. Our weight training facility that we have now is just barbells, and it's not large enough to accommodate all of our sports. This will accommodate all of our sports. It won't be just, you know, the football team gets in there right now, they're the only ones that fit in there. So it'll be large enough to house all those folks. Track and soccer and softball and baseball, and they can all be able to use it. In that same area, on the backside of Sullivan Stadium, we're wanting to put in a press box. A press box was put in there, I think, in the 80s. It's a steel structure. It's got some wood and so forth in the top of it, and it doesn't really lend itself to all of the people that need to be up there. Media. You know, we've got not just our own media, but we've got visiting teams media and coaches and video and all those things that need to have a little bit more space. Not only that, when you start touching that, you have to do some ADA issues. So this will have an elevator in it that'll get anybody that needs to up there. Now the elevator's not for the general public, but it'll just be for those folks that need to be in the press box. That's going to be, the elevator's going to be situated right between the two new restroom facilities that we just built. So we designed that in that way just so we can. So we're looking at lots of really, really good things. I mean, the weight training facility is about $6,270,000, and the improvements to the arena of the Robson Fieldhouse, the interior of that is going to have another $2 million in it. The floor can't be sanded anymore, and it's in need of being replaced. We've got some lighting that need to be replaced, so the old mercury vapor lights. So that's going to need some upgrading. We think we're going to take the ceiling out, and that way we can have a new scoreboard maybe that put up in the middle of it, and just give it a new, fresher look. And to do some other odds and ends in there with some aesthetic, for aesthetic reasons. And like I said, the weight training facility, that's about $3,900,000. And then softball and baseball is going to get about $563,000. We're going to try to make their fields and their facilities as best we possibly can, and just keep that up, because you've got to keep it up. And so with all of that being said, $37 million in a 6-year period is what it's going to take in order to get that all accomplished.
Is this, Brett, a tax increase for the people of Ponca City?
It is not a tax increase. The board said about 20 years ago that they didn't want to go over 22 mills. And every bond issue we've had has not been a tax increase. We've maintained that level throughout this whole 20 years, and every bond issue that we have, we've tried to design it in such a way that it maintains that level.
And one other comment before we start looking at pictures. If you have been to the high school football stadium and you enjoyed the new bathrooms, that's just a little bit of what's going to come. I know that I heard more people say that they were so pleased they didn't have to wait, that they were clean, they were nice. And that's kind of a microcosm of what we're going to do to the entire complex there at Ponca City High School.
It really is. When we get finished with this, it will look completely different. You just will not recognize that north end of the campus. It's going to be very, very nice, and it's going to bring us to the level of our peer districts. You know, our Sand Springs and our Enids and Stillwaters and so forth. You know, they are the same size as we are. I mean, student-wise, there's a little bit of difference, but those are our peer districts. Bartlesville. We need to maintain that level and become a 6A school district, and with the power that we have.
Okay, now we've got some pictures, and if you want to hold them up here, I'll kind of give you a hand, and I'll let you point out some specific things that we don't want to cover up Brett's face there too much.
Cover up the face, but it's all right.
Anyway, you got that okay, Chris? Okay, very good. Brett, what are we looking at here?
This is what our concert hall is basically going to look like. This is an architectural rendition of what we think it will look like on the north end of our campus, basically on the north side of Solon Stadium. The acoustical properties of a facility like this is basically a box, and we're trying to celebrate that box and put in some glass and some real nice exteriors and make this just a state-of-the-art facility for our fine arts program.
Will be quite a reward for Mr. Larson and Mr. Christie, who do a great job over there too. So
they do, they sure do, and they're real excited about it.
Bet they are. Okay, what's next? So you can tell I want to get to the press box here real fast. So,
and this is the picture of the new football locker room at the east end of Solon Stadium. New ticket booths and a fence around Solon Stadium. The old chain link fence has had its day, so we're going to upgrade it to a wrought iron look. And then, of course, the ticket booths. They've been there a long time. Parts of them are literally just being held up with paint, and so they need some renovation as well.
So here's Robson. Here's the parking lots here.
Correct.
And then there's the east entrance. And then at the end of the field, that's where that new dressing room will be. So
It extends into the student parking lot just a little bit in order to have enough room there, but we believe it'll fit just fine.
yeah, we don't quite have as many cars in those parking lots as we used to. So
Very true.
we probably got a little room there. So
Yes, we do. And then, best for last, right?
Yeah.
Now, the press box is situated right here, and of course the elevator shaft is in between the two new restrooms that we just built. And we're looking to put this same kind of a roof on those restrooms during this project too, so we can kind of match everything in the athletic facility. Kind of gives it that Marlin era look with the clay tile roof. That's what we've intended with that. And then on the back side of the Robson, building the weight training facility, which will be a 2-story facility that they can utilize.
Fabulous. Now, is this a 1-tier press box or a 2-tier press box?
It's not 2 stories, but it would be 2 tiers.
Okay.
Basically, you'll have a little bit of seating down the front of it, so folks like you will be able to see the field, and then an upper level where there'll be a restroom and the elevator shaft and so forth. So it'll be another level.
And you can talk to this more than I can, but this field that there is a notion that it's football, and football is 5 times a year. And it's not. It's practiced on by so many different groups. It's used for soccer. It's used for junior highs and middle schools, the high steppers, the cheerleaders, the band. It's used by a lot of people. So, one of the things I hear is that, well, it's a football game and we only have... It's not just a football game. It's a facility for many of our students to enjoy and something they really need.
Absolutely. We needed to do stuff for all of our athletes, and that's what the intention of all of this, the whole facility, is, so they can all utilize it and utilize it in a good way.
A lot of people enjoy Sullivan Stadium. They enjoy walking around Sullivan Stadium. They use the track. The school obviously lets people do that. So, this is going to benefit a lot of student athletes, and I think 1976 was the last time, Brett, that we had this type of a renovation to our athletic programs with the Allen Robson Fieldhouse. So that's a long time. That's almost 50 years.
It certainly is. So it's due to have an upgrade for those kids.
You're pretty proud of this stuff, aren't you?
I'm very proud of it.
I am too. I got a chance to look at this stuff a couple of weeks ago, and you can see how if you have little kids in Ponca City, you'll blink and they'll be in high school, and they're going to be the ones to benefit from all this.
It sure will. Whenever we put together everything that we've got in this bond issue with technology and books and buses and athletic facilities and fine arts programs, it's going to benefit our kids and our staff for lots of years to come.
Absolutely. So, and I might mention too that folks like Mr. Smith and Dr. Pennington and Mary Ladd and all the people that work so hard for our schools, I know you've already been out in the community. I know you've talked to groups and organizations, and if anybody has any questions about this, they can contact somebody at the schools, and you can let them know exactly what the answer is to their question.
Absolutely. We've got a lot of really good organizations and groups and special people in Ponca City that are helping us with this. Our local banks have just been phenomenal. Some of these pictures that I just showed you, they are displayed in the banks, so you can go by and take a look at those personally. They have just gone over and above to help us with those. And there's some information at those banks as well. So yeah, we really do enjoy what's going on right now. And this vote is a 60% majority vote. 60% is what schools are required to have. It's not just 51% and you going down the road. 60% sometimes hard to get. You got to get people out to vote.
And your vote is very important in Ponca City on October 13th. Again, if you have any questions, and you'll be hearing more about this on TV, newspaper, radio, about this bond issue, but I know you've been in our school system a long time. I've been with our schools for over 30 years, and this is as an important vote as I've ever seen come up in our town.
It really is. We really try to hit the entire district with this, and we focus on safety and our extracurricular activities. Safety is a key.
It's not just something for sports. It's not just something for fine arts. A lot of it is needed upgrades to our school buildings too.
And we always add money in there for textbooks and supplies. So that also goes trying to keep the money in the teachers' pockets instead of going out in places that it doesn't need to go.
Very good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bret Smith with Ponca City Schools. For Chris Adams behind the cameras, I'm Phil Turney. Have a great week.